Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This week's show, we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about From Season 3, Episode 7. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So let's pick up with the Ellis and Fatima story as they tell, as it gets explained to Christy and Marielle about her circumstances, which Christy, rightfully so, was kind of pissed later on because it's like, Boyd, you should have told me that before we even went through the whole ultrasound situation. It's like, well, to be fair, it's like Fatima, who would have immediately jumped to the conclusion of, hey, there is no pregnancy, or at least we're not seeing, so who'd immediately jump to that conclusion? But I think there's also the element of, right, you just want to know all the factors because you're not supposed to lie to your doctor. You need to tell your doctor everything up front so they know what to look for, how to, but I don't think it would have changed anything. But I think Christy's just frustrated because she has no answers. And it's just like, I would have rather be prepared, because if I knew ahead of time, maybe this would have been, I could have found a way to ease Fatima into this. But it's like, it's all kind of getting thrown at me at once. Wait, there's no baby. Wait, what's going on? Wait, these weird cravings for this, like, decaying food. Like, what's going on here? And especially because Fatima feels like no one's listening to her, because she's like, no, I am pregnant, but everyone's like, well, obviously you're not. So now it becomes a situation of, well, everyone thought Boyd was crazy last season with his worms. It turned out not to be the case. Now it's the thing of, well, and that ends up being the big thing that's on everyone's mind. Is this a Boyd situation where the worms ended up being real, or is this an Abby situation where she kind of went crazy? And that's what Fatima is so scared of, is knowing, like, it's like she has to believe it's a baby, because if she doesn't, that means I am going crazy and that this place is doing something to me. That's what she's so worried about and concerned. So, and it's just, and that ends up being this conversation later on between Ellis and Boyd, where it's like that powerlessness of, like, it's how Boyd felt in that moment. He was trying to talk Abby down, but to save more lives, in particular to save their son, because Abby was about to kill him, he had to put her down. And it's just like, there is no easy solution in all of this. And it's just like, we just don't know everything. We don't know what's going on in Fatima's case. Is it a Boyd situation? Is it a Abby situation? And it's just, and he ends up talking to Donna about all of this. And it becomes this conversation of, should they really be staying in Colony House? Because it's like, right, if it's just, okay, there's once again the worm situation like Boyd, well, that's one thing. But if it's an Abby situation, that's another thing. But either way, the situation is still like, hey, everyone could still be in danger. So she loves Ellis, she loves Fatima, but it's still a thing of, she has a responsibility to everyone else in that house to keep them safe, which is interesting when you we'll talk about it later, but the ending is kind of proof of that. She was like, right, doesn't have to be today, but it's just, yeah. And Boyd was kind of frustrated because he understood where Donna was coming from, but it's just, once again, he can't catch a break. It's just one thing after another after another. Once again, this place is, it feels like this place is messing with everyone. It's really sticking it to Boyd lately, because he made his declaration. This place is like, all right, bet you. Oh, we can't break it. All right, bet. We're going to break you. We're going to break you in the worst way possible. We're going to put you through everything that we've put you through before, 10 times fold, type of situation. So I think that's such a, like I said, everyone's getting it, but it feels like Boyd's getting it the worst, or at least the most consistent back-to-back. Because there's a lot of people who, yeah, the town in general is kind of feeling the effects of certain things, but it just feels like everything's happening just to mess with Boyd. And like I said, Fatima has the biggest questions out of anybody, and she feels like no one's listening to her, because she's like, everyone's acting like this is all in her head, but she's like, no, it's not. I really am pregnant. Like, why won't anyone just believe me that I'm the one going through this? I understand, because Marielle tried to, like, console her by being like, hey, I know what it's like. She's like, when those bugs were inside of me, and she's like, I still feel them too. It's like, how do you deal with that? She's like, I realize it's just fear. It's like, well, yeah, that's her way of dealing with it. It's just by being like, right, it was fear. But she's like, no, this is happening to me. I'm experiencing it. It's different. It's like, also Maria, Marielle isn't really being as truthful as Randall confronted her last episode about that stuff, and so she's trying to pretend like none of it's happening. Julie's got her own way of dealing with it. Randall seems to be the only one on a continuous basis that's dealing with it. Maybe, well, because the bug thing was already happening before he got captured by those monsters a few episodes back. It just feels like it's probably happening a lot more frequently, but it also is just like, right, we're not around Randall all the time, so he might have been dealing this for a while post, the situation they were all in. But like, it's interesting that it's only manifested like that for him, and Julie and Marielle haven't had to deal with that as well. But I love that you have someone like Tilly who kind of ends up being this guiding hand, because she's there to talk to Ellis, because it's like, for him it's just like, I don't know what to do, and she's like, you have Fatima here, like, she's like, it's something that she learned the hard way, where it's just kind of like, you have, I think it was like friend's advice or something, was the whole aspect of like, don't mourn people before they're gone. Fatima's still here, you still have her, so enjoy that while you have, because she talks about her circumstances, like, yeah, finding out she had cancer, and it's like, yeah, she was scared of dying, and then she was angry, but then she kind of became to realize like how short the time we have in life, because it could come at any point in time to an end. So it's like, you gotta have to enjoy things as they are, and because that's just kind of a fact of like, we all have to accept. So enjoy the moment while you have it. And it's just like, but she's like, yeah, if you need anything, Ellis, I'm here for you. And Fatima, and it's like, but why? Like, you don't even know us. She's like, I'm an old woman with cancer, and I love a good love story. So is that a good enough answer? And Ellis is like, yeah, it is. But when we get to Fatima again, her body starts shifting, and we're seeing like her stomach suck in. You can see like her ribs. I was like, it does feel like she's turning into one of those monsters. Like I said, this was also something that kind of got brought up of, maybe she was pregnant at one point, but maybe that miracle got turned into something bad, because we also don't know like what happens to life that is born here. This place can corrupt and corrode life. Like, what if they did the same thing to her baby, if that was the situation at all? But my immediate thought was, either she really is pregnant and the thing inside of her is turning into one, or she's turning into one. I was just thinking about it. It's like, oh, it just definitely gives me like, especially like what was happening to her, it gave me like Resident Evil 7 vibes, specifically 7, because of the whole mode situation. It definitely gave me those vibes, especially because it's like, it kind of makes me think of like, I guess the best example, because you see the transitional period for her, and it's kind of like the Mia situation, because that would immediately came to my mind. I'm surprised I never thought about that till just before I did this recording. I was like, I don't know, that randomly popped in my head. I was like, oh, I could definitely see Mia parallels. But yeah, it definitely leans into like, oh, she might be turning into one of those things. But by the time Ellis and Tilly got in the room, she was just okay. So it's like, oh well, because her stomach and everything was back to normal. So it's like, okay, was that really happening, or is she losing her mind, and this place is making her go a little stir crazy? Like, none of that actually is happening, but the place is driving her crazy, like Abby. I don't know. Because, like I said, maybe it isn't even a thing of, but also like the strange food and stuff makes you go like, it probably is happening, but maybe it's like, if Abby lived long enough, maybe that situation would have devolved into her becoming one. And I don't know. But that's also the thing. Why Fatima? Like, why her? Why now? Why hasn't anyone else kind of turned? Like, why haven't we seen this firsthand with anyone else? What was so special about Fatima? Like I said, maybe the thing is, she actually was pregnant at one point in time, but this place can like do what it does to life, and maybe it did what it did. Who knows? But ultimately, Fatima's outside, and I guess like she probably is hungry because she told Ellis that the cravings are getting stronger and stronger, and she did go to get some of that food, but she stopped herself, because I guess she's like, I don't want it, like, because if I'm able to kind of resist it, like, just eating it more and more just makes it solidify more and more, like, something's wrong with me. And she's just so, because she even said it herself, like, she's like, I'm so angry now. And Tilly was there trying to console her. I was like, oh, don't get away from her, Tilly, get away from her. I was like, oh god. I thought she was going to just straight up kill Tilly, just because at start, I figured it'd be kind of a repeat of the Nikki situation to some extent, which she does sadly end up stabbing Tilly, which is such a bummer, considering like, hey, two things. One, it's the whole situation like Donna was scared of. Yeah, it just happened a lot sooner. Like I said, you wanted to not make it today, but you were going to give them a little time before something happened, and lo and behold, something did happen. Not like it would have been better if it happened to anyone else, but it sucks considering Tilly was on their side. She's been helping Fatima. It almost makes you wonder when she was reading those tarot cards, which were interrupted, but it's like, yeah, we don't want you to have any forewarning about what's to come. The question then becomes like, was that going to be more about Fatima, or was that going to be about Tilly's fate? To be fair, she was short on time anyway, so not like that, once again, doesn't make it any easier, but it just sucks because it's like, hey, here's this person who was going to be kind of your ally. She's the one person you were talking to, knew everything, and was good. I mean, you got other people in your corner, but like it's a limited amount of people who know the truth about Fatima's circumstances, and now it's one less person. And now this puts them in a very compromised position because even Tilly's final words is, you need to run. Because it's like with everything going on, and it's like people are going to look at you a certain way, which Fatima was worried about and concerned about in the first place. And now it's all going to come to fruition. So now the question becomes, do you cover up this and just make Tilly disappear? Or do you tell everyone the truth? Like, is Boyd going to try and cover this up for them? Like, how do you handle this situation? Do they just run? Like, because the thing is, this place, they haven't done it, and I actually don't remember if they no longer do this anymore, because an incident really hasn't happened in a while, not since season 1, the whole like, right, they punish people by leaving them out there for the monsters to kill, but it's like, well, this is different, this is the woman that your son loves, it's kind of essentially your daughter-in-law, and these are Boyd's rules, and like I said, they haven't really had to do it in a while, so I don't know where that currently stands. And so it's a situation of, because she's actually killed someone, no matter what the circumstances are, people in town are going to want blood. It's like, we can't keep her around, she's a danger. So either they're going to send her out in the woods, or to be fair, it's like, because that was the whole thing they were like going to do with Sarah in the first place. So I'm sure that's going to be a thing of, well, you kept Sarah around, so why? You know, it says like Sarah's still around despite everything she did. So, and she, you know, she did kill someone the same as well. And it's like, I don't know. And are people going to be sympathetic? Sorry, I couldn't get that word out. Because it's like, right, this is 2 people in town who've kind of, well, technically 3, because, well, a lot of them, who knows how many of them were around when Abby did what she did, you know? Because that was quite a few years ago, so a lot of these people might not even been here during that time, you know. So, but yeah, this is like the second person that's kind of gone nuts and killed someone else that they are generally aware of. So it's going to be interesting to see. Does Ellis try to run off on his own with Fatima before anything happens, or like I said, do you face the music? I don't know. I'm so curious to see how that plays out. So we have that. We have the situation, we catch up a little bit with the victor of it all. Him still trying to get answers out of Jasper, but no go. And so he ends up going to Sarah's place. And it's like, right, can I go into your basement? So that's as much as that story we get. But it also, yeah, once again, Henry's struggling because he's trying to be there. And it's like, right, he doesn't understand a lot because, you know, obviously for Vincent, it's like, I was there. I saw Christopher talking to Jasper. I saw Jasper talking to him. And it's like, he's the key to figuring all this out. And it's like, the answers are there. I've already had to there's so much death I witnessed as a kid, and I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to be the only one left again, and I don't want to be alone again. I want to try and save as many people as possible, especially considering his dad's here now. So that also adds more like, I need to do this. And the sad thing is, Henry's talking to Donna over drinks, and he talked about it was just for a fleeting moment, but he's like, for a second there, I was thinking to myself, it was easier when I thought he was dead, you know? And it's just like, he's like, I wish I had never come to this town. I wish that Tabitha had never found me, and I just continue believing he was dead because that was easier, because now it's like, you're trapped here, you're seeing, you know, it's just more and more realizations of just how much your son went through alone because you sadly weren't there. And it's just like, sadly, if you were here, he probably would have been alone too. Like, you would have gotten God at some point in time. You would have probably died like everyone else too. It's just, there's a lot there. So Donna doesn't really have much of a response to him because it's just like, you know, because it's just like, what kind of father has that type of feeling? It's like, it's a shitty situation all around. So we have that. Speaking of Tabitha, she goes out in the woods with Ethan and Jade, and she sees the totems and stuff, and they tell Jim everything. And Jim's kind of like, right. He's like, you're trying to make sense of this place. You feel guilty of not having answers. She's like, no, I dreamt about this place. She's like, you think I'm making up? He's like, no. But he's like, I at one point in time thought I had this place figured out. That was like his whole thing, was trying to unravel the mystery of this place. And that ends up kind of being a poetic, like, that could be a poetic segue into it later, but the whole Kenny and Acosta of it all. But either way, getting back to it. Jim's like, yeah, I try to unravel the mysteries of this place, and thinking I had all the answers. Oh yeah, that wasn't just a season 1 thing. That was tied in, like, that was season 2 as well. But he's like, yeah, I almost got Donna killed because I thought I had the answer to this place, because like Randall and everything. I was like, because they were like, right, bringing up the whole tying Donna to a tree. I was like, all right, because I was thinking, because he was like trying to find answers in season 1, but also season 2 as well. But like that was kind of the last, like, camel that broke the back. I don't know this place. I'm going to stop trying. And it's like every time they try to dive deeper and deeper into this place, he bringing up the Sarah of it all. It's like, yeah, she went crazy and tried to kill our son. And it's like, I'm scared that, but for Tabitha, it's like, there's got to be a reason I was dreaming of this place. And so Jim is trying to be supportive in this situation and help her, because like, right, they're not on the best of terms right now, and it's like, right, I want to have my wife back. I want my family to be okay. So they go to the rocks, and she goes behind the one. She's like, right, I hide behind this, and then as I'm peeking up to see the thing that's on the other side, I always woke up. But for Jade, for him, it answers an interesting question. He was like, Miranda saw this place before she came here. And it's like, if you saw this place when you were a little girl, he says, like, basically it throws everything to the wind about, free will. Because now it's like, maybe there is no such thing. Maybe, like, determination and destiny, not determination, but like, destiny is a thing. Fate is a thing. That is like, that maybe at the end of the day, no matter how, some shape or form, you would have always found your way to this place because you were chosen. Like, no matter where your life would have been, it was only a matter of time before this place drew you in. The question is, why now? Why did he pick the perfect opportune time where it's after she's already lost a child, she's with her husband and her 2 other children, so it chose a very interesting time to kind of end up pulling her into this place. And she said it herself. She said she had the nightmare for months as a kid. But like I brought up last episode, why did it stop? What started it, and why did it stop? Maybe the place imprinted itself on her all those years ago, and it's just been a seed slowly but surely festering and growing the entire time. So that's all we've kind of got there. Some other questions that Ethan had, where he was like, right, who do you think lived here and where did they go? And Jay's trying to be optimistic, because like, maybe they found a way out, That ties into the Acosta of it all. She ends up going into the restaurant to talk to Kenny, because she brings up the questions that Henry had. Like, oh, why is there? He was like, oh, there's a motel sign, but there's no motel. She's just like, why is there this? Why is there a post office that's made into a sheriff's station? And Kenny's like, yeah, those questions you're asking, everyone does. And basically, it's about, as he says, you can either drive yourself crazy or adapt. It's like, right, I forgot, like, right, we haven't really had to have these, like, because we didn't have these in-depth conversations. They happen all off screen, but obviously you have some version of those conversations. We saw that with Jade and Jim, Tabitha, Julie, and Ethan, but now we're getting it this season, because it's like, right, we kind of have to have this conversation. But once again, it's like, it's very rare that people come here. Like, Jim and his family and Jade getting here ended up being like, it had been a long time since new people had gotten there. It's also interesting too to think about, where it's just like, right, the 2 people that managed to come here ended up being Jade and Tabitha. Even Julie has her own part in all of this, because of the whole her, Randall, and Marielle. And but Ethan also saw the boy in white, but now also so does his mom. So that's interesting, because the only person on the buses ended up being Randall has his situation, but also Elgin. So it's like interesting how that all ties together like that. And obviously the only survivor from, well, I was about to say the only survivor from the ambulance was technically Acosta, but even Henry and Tabitha had ties to this place. Tabitha's ties run even deeper than we thought, and Henry's run deep through the fact is being Vince's dad. But I said Vincent, I meant Victor. Actually, funny enough, I think if you go back to my From video that I made years ago, it was before season 2 came out, my nerd mode, I do believe I can't correct it because it's there. I could always take it down and re-upload it, but I think I called Victor Vincent for whatever reason. And like I put his name on the picture and as Vincent instead of Victor. I don't know why. I think I corrected it in the comments, but whatever the case may be, it made me think about that. Because now I'm sitting there thinking, have I been calling him Vincent this entire time? I hope I haven't. I think I've made that mistake in recordings too, kept calling him Vincent. I don't know why Vincent comes more natural to me than Victor. I don't know why. I don't know why I keep making that mistake. Either way, sorry. I went on a bit of a diatribe there, but I mean, it's understandable because Kenny's like, I understand what you're going through. He's like, every question and theory you've had, like, I've had it, other people. He's like, I have been on this side of the table having to explain this to someone else. I've been on the side of the table where you are, where people have had to explain it to me. So he's like, I get it. Like, eventually you either drive yourself crazy trying to figure this place out. Because once again, going back to like the Jim of it all, Jim was like, yeah, I've stopped trying to understand this place because it's like, yeah, shit can go super wrong when you think you got this place figured out. Things can just go wrong. But Acosta's not just, she just refuses to accept it because she feels like everyone else has. But it's like, yeah, we've also been here longer than you, and eventually the place just wears down you just kind of have to, like I said, you have to adapt or die or go insane. So, and then like the music turns on and stuff, and she's just like, so it's just, he's like, yeah, they do that sometimes, and it's just kind of in bounces. And then the bus driver is like, she's talking to Kenny about reopening the restaurant, the diner. So I guess she's going to look after it now. Because, I mean, interesting enough, because we saw her earlier on in the season with Ethan after Tien Chen died. So I guess, like, maybe in some shape or form, keep it alive. Because, like, what Tien Chen did was so important, and I guess someone needs to kind of fill that void, and it's almost like keeping this place alive in a lot of ways. Especially, it's interesting too, considering Kenny's probably feeling more and more of like, right, the house is no longer like home, his parents are gone, which Acosta talked about that too. She was like, oh, I'm so sorry you lost both your parents here. And also all he said was like his dad passed away. Didn't go into the whole, well, you don't want to outwardly admit like, yeah, my dad was brutally murdered by the monsters here. And obviously Acosta like feels like Boyd is such an asshole, which is like, Kenny's like, yeah, I get it, but he's also not like king of the world trying to act like a hotshot. It's just he's done a lot to keep people safe, and it's just it is head hard wearing the sheriff badge. It's a lot of responsibility, which Acosta decides, you know what, I want my gun back. So she goes in there and tries to go through the sheriff's station looking for it, and is for lack of a better term, accosting Boyd about it. And he's like, all right, you want your gun back? Here's your gun, but I'm keeping your bullets, and you won't get the bullets back until I feel that you deserve them. Because for him, it's like, she's like, because see, look at me, I'm an actual cop. Because Boyd isn't a cop. He is a military dude, right? Like I said, I believe he was a Marine. Do correct me in the comments. I don't remember. I don't think we knew that until like the flashback with the whole Abby stuff. I think that's when it came out. Maybe he wasn't a Marine. Maybe he was just like a military dude in jail. I don't remember. I feel like he was a Marine, but maybe not. So, but for her, it's like, see, I'm a cop. And he's like, huh, how long have you been out of the academy? 2-3 days? And she's like, I'm not going to answer that. And you're like, you must be pretty fresh out of the academy for you to go. And for him, even him calling her a kid, he's like, this fucking kid is like, she's a young buck. It's like, right, it's the young that think they know everything and end off going up and doing something stupid. That's why he didn't want her to have her gun. Obviously, it's like, you also caught Boyd at that was something Kenny said. You caught him in the worst circumstances. It's like the night you came here is like everything that could go wrong went wrong. It's like Tien Chen had recently died. Now it's like, oh, Tabitha's back and you kind of left her to die. There's 2 more dead bodies we got to deal with. If the monsters didn't tote them away, I think they might have just buried those guys. So then also on top of that, you killed Nikki. Once again, it wasn't, but it's like, it's his job to look after people, so that pressure's just been wearing. The place has always been a powder keg, and it's been so much pressure building up for Boyd. So he took a lot out of it. I was hoping he'd apologize to Acosta, but seems that's not the case. I definitely get the feeling she's going to go off and do something maybe stupid, and who knows if that's going to get her killed, someone else killed. I don't know. Like, hopefully her and Boyd can mend fences, and I hope it doesn't end up being a situation of, hey, Kenny ends up dying and he needs a new deputy and it ends up being Acosta. I hope that's not the case. I mean, there's always a possibility. You never know, but there's always a possibility Boyd might die, Kenny has to take over, and he needs a deputy, and it ends up being Acosta. There's always that a possibility as well. So we'll see where that story ends up going in that regard. And then we have the Randall and Julie situation, which I love that he's like, yeah, I'm going for a walk. She's like, do you mind if I tag along? He was like, do not come with me. And she's like, I'm going to drop off a bag. I'm like, it makes sense. Once again, like, she doesn't have anyone she could really talk to. Because a person she, like, latched onto and talked to in season 1 was Fatima. And now it's like, well, things are kind of awkward there. It's, you know, it's like, I don't think they've ever been, like, fully okay ever since Julie kissed her. Well, I believe that was season 1. I don't think that was season 2. But it's like, they're okay, but like, those, it's like kind of interesting because I'm like, yeah, they haven't been around each other really since, you know? And once again, it's like a very unique experience, and she feels more comfortable talking to Randall. But it's like, yeah, we smoked on the bus and everything. Like, we're weed buddies. Like, so let's hang. And so they go for a walk, and she talks about the fact that she never got her permit because, well, around that time is when Thomas died, and she's like, because of that, like, Dad never really, you know, he dived into work. So Randall trying to be a good guy, you know, once again, he could be an asshole, but he has his moments. Yeah, he's like taking her in the car from the van from Colony House, and they're driving with her. I was scared the moment he starts seeing his bugs. I was like, oh God, please don't crash the car. But luckily he stopped it, but went off in the woods. I was like, don't go off in the woods, Randall. Julie follows him, and they come across some ruins, which I'm like, if I remember correctly, those are the ruins of like when Boyd got out of. Once again, I don't know if that is the tower, that dungeon area where Marielle, Randall, and Julie were in. I don't know if that's technically the tower like the kids were locked in. Maybe they're in a different version of the tower or some other floor. I don't know. But if I remember correctly, when Boyd got out of there, he was in this exact spot. And so when Julie and Randall got there, they could feel the tug of like, right, there's something here. And she's like, I want to get closer. It's like, do not get closer. You might get teleported in that place. I don't think it'd work like that because you'd have to use an anywhere. Once again, I keep doing that. It's a faraway tree, right? Because I think the reason why I'm calling it I almost want to say anywhere tree. I think lock and key is stuck in my head and making me think of like, because that's what the key was called, right? The anywhere key, I believe. But they're faraway trees. Like you would need one of those trees to teleport you to the tower, but like getting out of it, you automatically end up there. So I think that's why Randall and her were feeling the pull, even though Randall was like, no, I'm not feeling anything. But he was like, Julie, do not go over there. Because like, once again, he's seeing the bugs, but no one else is. So what is that about? But there's a good chance Julie might decide to try and go back to that place on her own. Hopefully she might end up talking to Jim and Tabitha about it, and then Boyd can fill them in about, I don't know. Or maybe she's going to convince Randall to go back out there with him or something. And I'd assume eventually maybe the pull is going to get stronger and stronger, and it's going to bring all three of them, Mariola included, there. I don't know. And then finally we had the Elgin of it all, where while he was making kind of one of those little things, I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be, but one of those things that hangs above like a crib, where it's like, oh, like things could hang from it and spin around, like as to kind of like keep a baby distracted and stuff. I don't know if that's what he was making. Maybe it was, but the camera randomly takes a photo, and it turns out that photo leads to that underground area. Like, I guess you call it a bunker, or I guess. I don't know what that'd be considered. it's not, I don't think a bunker is the right word, but I was like, isn't that the place Jade saw the guy in the closet under the boulder and stuff? I think it is, because that's the very closet that Elgin ends up looking in, but there's nothing there, and then he ends up pushing it aside and finds that back room, and underneath some stuff he finds a dead body, and then the woman in a kimono is like, he's like, is this where, what did he say? Is this where it happened or where it's supposed to happen? And part of me was like, I don't have any proof of this, but I'm like, do you think that's supposed to be Christopher's body or something? I'm like wondering, what is it that she told Elgin? Like, what is that all about? That's another mystery. It's just, there's a lot here, and I'm just so curious to see where all this ends up taking us. We've only got 3 episodes left this season, so there's a lot, and I'm just, oh god, there's just so many different ways this could go, and I'm just so curious to find out. Once again, damn mysteries. I'm so interested to get some answers to all this and see where it all goes. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.